right, here at Trinity, before our sermon, we have what's called a Worldview segment. Why do you have a Worldview segment? For those of you that are new here, we believe we're a spiritual intersection, Trinity Church, where moral, cultural, social, political, and economic issues collide with biblical truth. We believe what 1 Chronicles 12:32 says, that the sons of Issachar in the Old Testament understood the times in which they live and they knew what they should do. We need to understand the times in which we live so that two things. We can be informed to know how to pray so that we can be empowered to act. I want to share a famous poem with you called First They Came. It's a poem that was written by Pastor Martin Niemöller. He was a German theologian, Lutheran pastor, born in 1892. He died actually in 1984, and he stood against the Nazi regime. This pastor, Pastor Martin, initially he was a national conservative. He supported Adolf Hitler, and he self-identified as an anti-Semite. But then something shifted, something changed. He realized the evil that was planned against the Jewish people, and he became one of the founders of the Confessing Church. What was the Confessing Church? In Pastor Martin's day, that was the pastors in the churches that opposed the Nazification of the church in Germany. We need to oppose the wokeification of the church in America today. Now, God bless Pastor Martin. He was arrested. He narrowly escaped execution. And at the end of his life, he said he regretted not doing more to save the Jews. May we not regret doing more to save babies. May we not regret doing more to save souls. All right, so this poem exists in many forms. This is the version that's featured on the United States Holocaust Memorial, and here's his famous poem. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out. First they came for prayer in the schools, and we didn't say anything. Then they came for our Bibles in schools. We still said nothing. Then they came for the unborn. We said very little. Then they came for traditional marriage. We were silent. Then they came for our children in public schools, and we're silent. Then they came for our houses of worship during the pandemic, and they were silent. And then something unusual. There's a figure in our culture today that is the most polarizing figure in America, perhaps American history. No matter what your political slant may be, if you're a Christian and you pray and you sincerely believe in heaven and eternity and a spiritual battle that's raging, we have to ask ourselves, what in the world is going on with Donald Trump? Why is there so much animosity and hatred for this one man who represents some 60 million plus Americans that voted for him? Why is there so much animosity and hatred? Why is a current seated president and the institutions that report to him, how are they now being used against what might more than likely is going to be his running mate in the next election? There are things happening we have never seen. We are treading waters we have never been in before. How does a state district attorney press charges against a former president that these charges, alleged charges, are leveled at him while he was a seated president? This type of nonsense has never happened before. It doesn't even happen in banana republics. And we need to realize this one thing. Whether you like him or not is immaterial. He's a symbol. He's now become a symbol. And what they're doing to him, they are indirectly doing to 60 million plus Americans that stood with him and voted for him. And the question is why? This is something I've never heard anyone else say. I've never heard anyone else say this. Here's what I believe. 2 reasons. Now, I don't know if he's changed his position as of today, Donald Trump. But when he was president, you have to understand, I will defend this to my grave because it's factual. He was the most pro-life president in the history of the United States of America. And because of the nominees to the Supreme Court that he nominated, Roe versus Wade was overturned. That is historic in our lifetime. The second thing is, he was the most pro-Israel president that backed up his talk with action. He moved our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. When those two things happen, all hell literally broke loose against this. Donald Trump doesn't even know why he's Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't even know why he's become this banner for freedom and why he's become such a polarizing individual. It's because God's hand was upon him. And the devil's crowd, they love two things. They love killing babies and they hate Israel. And over those two issues, they are united. I don't know what our response should be other than to pray, our eyes to be open, and we cannot remain silent, because if they can do this to him, watch out what they'll do to the rest of us.